Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked where I climb the online Series 9 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. Today we're trying out a team that was able to get number 1 on the ranked ladder just a couple of days ago. It was piloted by a player called Jason. Jason and another player called Hannah sent this team into me, and I believe it was originally built by someone called Ty TKE. So huge thank you to everyone involved in the team, and yeah, really wanted to feature it because it is just a really consistent team, and it features Registeel, which I think is still kind of underplayed in the metagame. Registeel was something that saw a little bit of increase in popularity towards the end of Series 7. Eric Rios, a prominent player from Spain, was able to win a pretty big grassroots online tournament with it. But since then, I feel like I still haven't seen Registeel very much, and certainly not in the couple of weeks that I've played Series 9. And so the idea behind Registeel is that it's a late game monster. It's really difficult to knock out. This set has both Iron Defense and Amnesia, and you have dual screens on Grimmsnarl. So the combination of all of that means that it's actually really difficult to knock out Registeel once your opponent's Dynamax is over. So the idea is to apply early pressure. You can Dynamax Landorus-T, has Swords Dance here as well. You can Dynamax Venusaur, classic Venusaur set. Even Porygon 2 is a potential Dynamax option depending on the matchup, especially if it gets, a download special attack boost, for example. And so the idea is, try to go even with your opponent, stall out their Dynamax, get rid of the biggest threats to Registeel, and then use Registeel to sweep in the end game. There aren't that many Pokemon that really reliably beat Registeel. It's mainly going to be, Fire-type Pokemon, for example, and then Pokemon that can ignore boosts, so Urshifu or Kartana, for example, with their crits and Sacred Sword, respectively. But outside of those, Registeel is pretty difficult to deal with, as is, and then when you add all these defensive boosts on top, it's even more difficult to deal with. So, really interesting Pokemon here, and yeah, this team is a little bit more standard than the ones that we've used recently, but there's a reason why this was able to get number 1 on the ladder. So, looking forward to trying a couple games out with it. So, yeah, thanks once again to everyone involved, and check out their Twitters down in the description below. Rental and Pace are also down in the description below if you're interested. So, thanks so much as always for watching Road to Ranked. If you enjoyed, please share support by leaving a like in the video. I'd really appreciate it. And question of the day, I want to know from a scale of 1 to 10 how you would rate Sword and Shield. I personally would probably give it somewhere between like a 6 and 7. I didn't care particularly for like the in-game casual experience, but I think, the battling has been really, really fun. And rental codes have been just a huge, huge addition to the game as well, and hopefully has made it easier for you all to get into competitive play as well. So rental codes alone have made me really enjoy Sword and Shield. But curious on what your opinions are down in the comment section below. And without further ado, let's get started. Alright, looking for our first opponent of the day. I also want to give the creator a huge shout out for their team name. It was named Dua Lipa, and I actually have one of Dua Lipa's albums on my wall of albums right here. So, yeah. First game of the day, and it's Regidrago, Gieleki, Tornadus, Urshifu, Metagross, and Incineroar. This looks like eerily similar to some of the teams we feature, but I don't think it's exactly it. Have we featured this? I don't think so. I'm mainly expecting Brutal Swing into Weakness Policy on the Metagross. Registeel's very good here in the late game, so I'm down to play towards that. Tornadus plus the Metagross is the main lead to watch out for, I think. I could go Grim P2. If I go Grim P2, though, I mean, I guess it could be Grim, Porygon, Landorus, Registeel. I just don't really love Torkoal Venusaur here. Oh, maybe it's actually not terrible. They could just Max Quake though, right? Like Brutal Swing Max Quake. And I do have Life Orb Landorus. So Grim plus Landorus is actually pretty interesting. Like T-Wave into Max Quake. I just don't know if that one-shots. But I think Metagross will probably have some less bulk here. So I'm actually down to go Grimmsnarl Landorus. Registeel in the back. What do I want as the last one? Porygon, just for Registeel support. Okay, Ice Beam's actually really good offensively in this set as well, so I'm down to bring that and see how it plays out. I'm gonna open the window a bit. The lighting looks a little bit weird. Okay, that's better. A little bit better. Alright, either way, let's jump into this game and see what my opponent has. I think the main things to watch out for my opponent's team is like Tornadus, Metagross. Tornadus can also set up Tailwind, and Regidrago can just get like Specs attacks off. But it's going to be Incineroar plus Metagross. Okay. This is interesting turn 1, because it's like, do you fake out Steel Spike into Grim? I could switch Grimmsnarl out right now. Or do they just fake out Grimmsnarl like Max Hailstorm onto Landorus-T? I'm not sure. But either way, this is quite a solid lead by my opponent, I'd say. I feel like it's really greedy to risk Swords Dance here, and the play I actually like the most is maybe double switching out here. So like I could pivot Grim out into Registeel, and I could pivot Porygon out, or Landorus out into Porygon. This resets the Intimidate. Like, if I could be a little bit greedy here, Towan, and go for, like, Reflect and Swords Dance, saying, hey, you only get one of the two, but Landorus is so essential as my max option with this team that I don't think I can just give it up, right, on turn 1. And I think if I were in my opponent's shoes, I would consider just max Hailstorming, because you know you got the Intimidate onto me. So I'll just play it safe turn 1. If Metagross maxes, like, the whole point, like I mentioned with this team often, is to try to stall out your opponent's Dynamax and then use Registeel in the late game. I don't think Registeel will take that much damage if you're Steel Spiking or Hailstorming turn 1, and Metagross maxes, which is great. The idea is to try to stall out this Dynamax as quickly as possible. The good thing is, without, like, Tornadus out on the field, they can't activate a policy immediately, although one really good play you could do if you're my opponent is actually go for a U-turn / parting shot to pivot out into Tornadus immediately, then Brutal Swing the next turn. That'd actually be a really, really cool play. So, let's see what they go for. Either way, I feel okay about this switch. And they do just go for Fake Out. Okay, great. Yep, target Registeel. And they Steel Spike. Okay, so this is what I was saying, right? I could have theoretically Swords Danced, but, like, is that really worth it for us? Risk versus reward, I think the answer is honestly no, because even with Swords Dance, we're only at +1 attack, and then they end up getting a defense boost from Steel Spike anyway, so I don't really love the idea of that. Now, this next turn is interesting. Like, do you even have... If they don't have Taunt on the Incineroar, I can actually set up Trick Room right now. Just go for an Iron Defense and Trick Room. I think I'm down for that because their team is decently speedy, and Porygon and Registeel will outspeed everything. Maybe they double up onto Registeel here. I could just Protect. You know what? I'm down to Protect this turn. Just because Max Quake into Flare Blitz would be a lot of damage right now. So it comes down to like whether or not Incineroar has Taunt in this position. But even if they Taunt us, that's fine, because then we've already stalled out 2 turns of Metagross's Dynamax. That's really essential for us. Yep, there's Max Quake, okay. If it's Max Quake Flare Blitz, this is like the perfect turn for us, because Registeel is just like diverting so much attention away from my opponent right now. Then the question is, if they don't Taunt here, do I want to Iron Defense, or do I want to just Body Press Tri-Attack Incineroar? Nice. Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's exactly what I want to protect there. Okay, beautiful. And we get Trick Room up. Great. So this next turn is interesting. I almost want to switch out this Registeel to go back out in a Grimmsnarl and then just set up Reflect with Grimmsnarl. Because I don't... Even if I Iron Defense here, I do take a substantial amount of damage. And I think... So, yeah, I think I'm willing to make the switch. I'm going to go out in a Grimmsnarl right now, and I'm just going to go for a Tri-Attack for chip damage onto Incineroar. Once Grimm is out, we can first set up Reflect, maybe even a Light Screen afterwards. But this is great, right? Because in the end, my opponent's Metagross really didn't do very much. He has a bunch of defense boosts, but Metagross without Weakness Policy activated just isn't, like, that strong. They actually switched Incineroar out, which is great, because Tri-Attack is very free damage right now. So, kind of surprised to see a hard switch there, but we'll gladly take it. And that's the other thing, right? Urshifu is a decent counter to Registeel just because it can crit through. Tri-Attack's going to do so much damage here, yeah. And they just go for another Max Quake. This game couldn't have played out any better in the first 3 turns, honestly. Like, we stalled out Dynamax very effectively. My opponents barely gotten any damage off. And now we get Grimmsnarl out. So, this is why I like to play a little bit safer. Like, turn 1, for example, yes, theoretically, we could have gone for a Swords Dance, but it's really greedy, and if we lose Landorus, we just lose our best Dynamax option. Now, if you look at my opponent's team, they have Incineroar, Metagross, Urshifu, Landorus, like, kind of cleans through everything right now. So, Trick Room is still up. I'm content to just set up a Reflect here, and while it's likely they're going to protect Urshifu, I don't care, I think. I'm still just going to try attack it, because it forces Urshifu to protect. If they don't protect, I just KO it. And if you protect, or switch it out, right? And, like, they don't have switch-ins to try attack right now. Their only switch-in to try attack is basically Metagross, and that's already out on the field. So once again, this is us taking advantage of the fact that my opponent doesn't have great resist to normal type. That's one of the reasons why Porygon 2 is actually a pretty decent offensive option. So, like, now it's going to be really difficult for my opponent to win, right? Because I've set up screens. I still have my Dynamax to play towards as well. This team is definitely, you know, the games draw out a little bit longer. That's kind of what happens when you use Grimmsnarl. Look how much damage that is. They just go for Stomping. Okay. Maybe covering for Registeel switching, but I don't really have that much incentive to switch into Registeel right now. We have T-Wave as well. That's pretty neat. Their last attacker is going to be a special attacker, so I'm down to just go for a Light Screen here. I don't want to, like, mindlessly switch in Registeel, because I really don't think we need to right now. We can probably even set up another Trick Room in this game, quite frankly. Yeah, and I think my opponent realizes they really just don't have much damage at this point. So you can see how we barely did any damage in these first couple turns, and we still essentially won the game. Now, it was obviously a very early forfeit, but I felt like I had complete control of that game, especially with our Dynamax to play towards, screens up, and Registeel waiting in the back. So, like, This is why if you can stall out your opponent's Dynamax with this team, it is so strong, right? And even though we didn't like fully set up Registeel in this game, you can see how my opponent felt the pressure, right? I got a free Trick Room because my opponent was like, oh no, like how do I even deal damage in a Registeel? It was kind of like a pseudo follow me essentially, right? My opponent doubled up into that slot and I just got Trick Room up. So main thing to note is you will sometimes want to Dynamax early and just, you know, push the tempo, but with the Metagross lead on my opponent's side, I figured it would actually make sense to not Dynamax immediately. Try to bait my opponent into maxing and then go from there. So that played out pretty perfectly. Next game here, they have Togekiss, which is scary because, like, Spectrier theoretically could be Nasty Plot. Togekiss is pretty good into Sun as well, I'd say. Spectrier's a problem, and they have dual Fake Out as well, but they can't knock out Grimmsnarl that easily. I guess if you go Fake Out plus Togekiss and it's actually offensive Togekiss, that could pose a problem for us. I don't really love Sun here, although I think Torkoal under Trick Room's pretty strong. Yeah, one thing I didn't really mention is that Torkoal could actually be a decent max option, hilariously enough. Registeel's decent here, but Body Press doesn't do that much into Spectrier and Togekiss. I think I still want to bring it. Although, one thing is that I probably shouldn't force this Pokemon too much if I don't need to, right? I like Grim Porygon. It's just consistent. Well, Grim Venusaur actually could work, because then wait, does Venusaur outspeed Alcremie here? I don't think so, right? Nah, 214 speed. Man, Alcreme's so good. Grim, Porygon. I feel like Landorus should be our max option, so maybe I just go with the same 4 Pokemon as the previous game. I don't know, Registeel's a little bit weird to bring here, because I feel like I'm not going to get many positions to actually set up, and even if I get to +6 defense, 2 of my opponent's Pokemon walls Registeel and the Spectrier and the Togekiss. But I guess that's where Landorus comes in handy, and even Porygon too, to an extent. So, let's see. Okay, it's going to be Insane plus the Spectrier. How do I feel about this? I think this is solid, right? Well, I guess what's scary is the potential Nasty Plot from Spectrier. Or Taunt, I guess. Taunt's also scary, but I don't know if I'm that worried about Taunt. No, actually, Taunt's very interesting here because you could taunt, like, the Grimmsnarl. Like, I can go for Light Screen. I almost... Oops, that was my phone. Sorry about that. I can Light Screen... I guess I'm down to just Light Screen and Trick Room on turn 1, honestly. Because, like... Well, no, I was going to say you could have double Taunt, but that's a stretch. So... yeah, the hope here is to... like, Spectrier isn't that scary offensively right now. I don't think you'll want to max Spectrier. Nasty Plot's maybe what I'm most worried about. No Fake Out, which is interesting. That makes me think Taunt into Porygon and then Nasty Plot on Spectrier. Okay. They just taunt with Spectrier. That's fine. Double Taunt? Nah, Parting Shot. Okay. That makes sense. But honestly, I'm okay with this because, like, I can just Thunder Wave the... Spectrier. And, like, the best thing I could have done this turn was maybe go for an Ice Beam. But, like, at -1, it doesn't even do that much damage, so I'm fine with it. And if you're Taunt on Spectrier... okay, they bring out Togekiss. Can't Trick Room, but I've set up screens. Taunt's actually a really big issue, right? Because Registeel can't really set up in front of that. So I'm not the biggest fan of that. They haven't really brought in out any physical damage yet. I'm actually pretty down to just Thunder Wave Togekiss, slow it down a little bit, and Ice Beam it. Because I think... yeah, okay, they switch out... I guess the risk here is if it's Nasty Plot Togekiss. Or sorry, Weakness Policy Togekiss. Yeah, they're gonna... oh, they're not gonna max. Yeah, that's interesting. That's very interesting. Who do you max then? Is it still Max Spectrier? Either way, this is not a bad turn for us. Pretty good damage there. Nope, they're not Policy. They just Gleam. Crit Kiss, I think, right? Yep. Okay. You got Water Urshifu out. Should probably switch Porygon out. Water Urshifu's a pretty big issue. I need to KO Togekiss, like, ASAP. If I'm my opponent, what am I doing here? Follow me, Surging Strikes into Grim? Yeah, that would make a lot of sense, because you don't want to get paralyzed on Urshifu. So I feel like Registeel's pretty useless in this game, unfortunately. So I'm willing to switch out into Registeel here and just go for Ice Beam onto Togekiss. Because Ice Beam's still doing a decent amount into Togekiss. And at this point, I don't think you're going to Dynamax Togekiss, right? You're paralyzed. You've already taken 40% or maybe like 35%. Ah, they didn't follow me though. Okay. Well, that's a nice play. Because I could have just Thunder Waved in that position. And Thunder Wave would have been really, really good for us. But Registeel will take these. Question is... Okay, nice. Yep. You take less than 50, which is great. And I'm slowly whittling... I feel like if you're my opponent now, you're definitely going to max the Spectrier, right? I'm not super happy about that damage output, but they actually get fully paralyzed, which is really fortunate for us. Does Close Combat KO us? We shake off Taunt. No, I don't think Close Combat will KO. So another Surging Strike seems likely. I just really want to get rid of Togekiss, because once Togekiss is out of the way, Landorus has a better time in this endgame. What do I do if I were my opponent here? Helping Hand Close Combat is scary. I could also Helping Hand Surging Strikes Porygon. I feel like Body Press does so little damage here that even Ice Beam plus Body Press doesn't KO Togekiss. Oh, they switch out though. You know, I don't mind that because that's free damage. That's a free Body Press into Incineroar, so that's actually pretty good for us, I would say. Unless they just Close Combated Registeel here, which would make some sense. Yeah, this game's just interesting because like neither of us have Dynamax yet, and they are actually going to launch Close Combat into Registeel. Okay. And it hangs on with 1 HP. Okay, so maybe Registeel wasn't a bad bring after all. Okay. Yeah, recovering there might have been nicer, but hey, I'll take it. I will gladly take it. Get a Body Press off here. It's really good damage onto Incineroar. That's fantastic. Now, that's one of the upsides of Registeel, right? Body Press does hit some Pokemon in the format for a lot of damage, namely Incineroar and Porygon too. I don't think their Incin has Taunt. I mainly want to switch Porygon out right now into Grimmsnarl. There's still 4 turns of Light Screen. That doesn't really matter too much. They're doing a good job stalling out my Light Screen, though, so props to them there. I don't know. Fake out into Porygon and just, like, targeting Registeel with Surging Strikes is their safest play. I don't really have great counterplay to that. But I think I'm down to protect and switch out here. Yeah, because then I'd get a free switch into Landorus. It's just... Yeah, Water Urshifu has trended upwards so much in the meta. If it were Dark Urshifu, like Landorus-T would probably be able to get a Swords Dance up pretty freely. But it's very nice to let Registeel hung on with 1 HP there. I thought it would survive, but it was closer than I expected. Okay, there's the strikes. Yep, into Registeel. Nice decision to not fake out there with Incin. This lets them pivot out. Probably a parting shot. Oh, they do have taunts on that as well. So it was double taunts. That's what I was thinking. That's funny. Okay. Well, this is scary, but I think the main upside right now is that I finally get my Dynamax threat out in Landorus. Ooh, one very big question I have here. I think the better play here is probably to just max Airstream into the Incineroar, because that guarantees us a knockout. And just Spirit Break into Urshifu. Okay, I think I'm down for that. I was thinking about Airstreaming and Spirit Breaking to Urshifu, but I'm nervous about Urshifu protecting and then Incineroar going for a parting shot onto Landorus. Because then not only do you drop our attack, but then you also can bring in Incineroar back in to intimidate us. So because they're not switching out here, we should just knock out the Incineroar, and that's a really big deal because Intimidate is one of the biggest answers into Landorus-T, right? And after a speed boost, now my Landorus is positioned to outspeed the Spectrier, which is really critical. But I'm kind of nervous about dealing with Spectrier in this like long-term endgame. Okay, they're going to go for strikes. They outspeed us, actually, which I guess is kind of a problem. That's so much damage. Now, I don't think Aqua Jet KOs us, but like... Doesn't feel great to take that much on my Maxmon, right? I think I had to go for this play, though. It's mainly the Togekiss with redirection that was a really big issue, and the double taunt. Double taunt definitely slowed me down a little bit, so maybe I should have been a little bit more, like, played around that a little bit better. I don't know, though. It's not like Torkoal Venusaur are like substantially better for me here. So, I'm not sure. Okay. Did they just literally hang on with like 2 HP? Is this Landorus max speed? Actually, I don't remember. Because I'm wondering if they're like scarfed. Okay, they bring Spectrier out. The thing is, Spectrier can't really do that much damage into Porygon. If you're my opponent, though, what do you do here? I still have 2 turns of Light Screen. Max Phantasm's still KOing this, right? You could just Surging Strikes into Grimm. Phantasm into Landorus. I wonder if I can survive Phantasm if I Spirit Break. Like, I'm thinking here we can max Airstream. But I feel like I really need to burst the damage onto Spectrier, because otherwise how do I beat it? This is a tough spot. Okay, I'm going to go Airstream onto Urshifu and Spirit Break onto Spectrier, but I don't know if this is the right play. Wow, that's interesting. That is interesting. If I Max Quake there, would we have won? I was really smart of them to conserve Urshifu because they realized that I have Porygon in the back. Yeah, that was very well done. And the problem is I don't even know if my Grimmsnarl outspeeds Urshifu at +2 speed. Could be Scarf Urshifu still. Like, do they have a Sash user on their team? Yeah, they don't Max Guard either. Now they're going to get a boost as well. Yeah, okay. They played... That was a really good switch. Because I was thinking, hey, if they don't switch and they sack Urshifu... Like, I could have doubled up onto Spectrier here, potentially. Like, Max Quake into Spirit Break actually could just be a knockout, as I learned the Life Orb max damage onto Lando yesterday. And they are still faster. They go for Strike. I wonder if we can survive this? Nah. Even with Light Screen up, it's not enough. Great Max Strike there as well. Yeah, that's a really good play. I think this endgame favors my opponent. So this is really interesting because it's offensive Spectrier with Taunt. So it's probably just Hyper Beam, Shadow Ball, Mud Shot, Life Orb. Yeah, and just carries Taunt as well. Very interesting. Max Quake Spirit Break would have been enough to pick up the knockout there. So I could have doubled up onto Spectrier, but I don't know. It felt a little bit risky to me. We still have 1 turn of Light Screen, which is actually pretty valuable in this position, but there's obviously close combat from the Urshifu right now. Man, if that's actually Scarf Urshifu and they just outsped or survive with 1 HP, I'm very sad. But it is what it is. I don't know. I think it's Sash. But was the Landorus on this team max speed? I don't remember. It's Adamant max speed. Okay. It's probably Sash Urshifu then. I have Thunder Wave. Does that help? The idea is to T-Wave and Ice Beam into Urshifu. But they might just max Strike close combat me. I don't think T-Wave is the play. Yeah, I don't think that's the play. Okay, they don't protect though, which is good. Unless they don't max Strike here for some reason. I guess this also gives me a Parachance, so maybe it's not that bad of a play. Oh, but they Phantasm. Okay, perfect. Nice. Which makes sense. You get a defense drop. You set yourself up for close combat. Yeah. So now it's a question of whether or not the Porygon outspeeds the Urshifu. Okay. Nice. Okay, so that play did work out. Oh, that was scary, though, because I was thinking if I'm in my opponent's shoes, I would consider Max Strike close combat into the Porygon slot. But I think that wins us the game. Because I don't think Spectre can really deal with Porygon long term. I'm at +1 speed, -1 defense. No more Light Screen, so I think a Max Strike will KO Grimmsnarl. Now, this game is actually still very far from over. Oh, but I can Light Screen again now with Grimm, which is very good for us. Yeah. I'm down a Trick Room here. And Light Screen. I think that's fine. It's just a matter of, like, I think Porygon wins the 1v1 against Spectre in this endgame. Yep, they go for another Max Strike. They target Grimm. Unfortunately, not enough to survive. Okay, that's a bummer, but that's okay. It's going to be close. Like, the main scary thing here is they obviously have a boost, but the thing is, your only reliable damage is Hyper Beam, right? You're not going to Shadow Ball. You obviously can't, and Mud Shot really doesn't do that much. So the only damage you can actually really do in a Porygon is using Hyper Beam at some point, but Hyper Beam is not exactly the best reliable option, right? Especially with us having Light Screen up. I think we always go for Recover this turn just to avoid any potential shenanigans. Like, we have 7 turns of Light Screen to work with and a special attack boost. So let's just avoid, like... I think my opponent's win con here is critting Hyper Beam this turn. 2 Ice Beam should knock out the Spectrier at this point, especially with Life Orb damage. So, okay, the T-Way play did work out, but I was very nervous making that play. Yep, they taunt. Okay, taunt is a good play here. I just like recovering because now, you know, I'm definitely going to survive Hyper Beam, and with Trick Room up, the Spectre definitely doesn't have Protect, right? We still have 3 turns of Trick Room to work with. They revealed Hyper Beam, Shadow Ball, Taunt. I guess you could run Protect over Mud Shot, but that's like a really bizarre moveset. Because then your Spectre is just hard-walled by the, by Incineroars. Oh, they end up forfeiting. Okay, I guess because I recovered. Yeah, what they were hoping for was me Ice Beaming there, taunting me so that I couldn't recover, and then Hyper Beaming, which I think is smart. Which is why I should always recover, right? So... yeah, that was a really, really close game. But Registeel hanging on with 1 HP was so clutch for us because it got so much burst damage onto the Incineroar. And once we got that burst damage off, it meant that I didn't need to rely on Max Quick to KO it. It meant instead that I could just go for Max Airstream. And that was really, really sweet. So, yeah, you can see how consistent this team is. That game was a little bit too close for comfort. We did get a lucky Paralysis on the Togekiss, and we hit our Thunder Waves as well, so that was nice. But, yeah, what's really pivotal here is the Porygon speed, able to outspeed Urshifu after the Paralysis. So, let's get into the next game here. What do we got? Alright, there's an Alcremie on this team. I feel like my win rate against Alcremie is terrible. Every time I go up against it, I get demolished by it. I think I might have gone up against this team. It's like... I don't know if it was on Road to Rank or just when I was practicing, but the idea is you use Alcremie to just boost up Porygon. I think it's like Focus Sash Alcremie as well. And then you Dynamax Porygon. Oh man, how do I actually deal with that? Yeah, Alcremie P2 lead seems really hard. And I'm going to be honest, I don't remember Alcremie Space Speed off the top of my head. What I could do is go Venusaur Torkoal. It's like this +2 Hailstorm KO Venusaur. It might. I have to weather the storm of the early game, basically. That's what it feels like. Grimm can set up screens, although it might be like mixed Porygon here. I don't love this. I don't love this one bit. What if I just lead Registeel outright? You know what? I'm down for that. Grimm Registeel. Who's my late game? Probably Lando. Lando P2. Alright, so we didn't bring Sun at all today, but I think like Sun has actually fallen off a little bit in Series 9 because a lot of people are building very good anti-Sun answers, right? Like, here my opponent... even Porygon alone is scary, right? Because it does really good damage into Torkoal because its special defense is so bad, and they can also max Hailstorm Venusaur. If there weren't Alcremie, I'd probably go Torkoal Venu despite the Porygon, the Landorus, and the Moltres, but all of those just make me uncomfortable. So, yeah, it is Alcremie Porygon here. Okay, so the idea here is... let's see, I got a download boost, special attack. The idea is to just Amnesia. And Light Screen. You know what? I actually think this is a pretty effective strategy. Because I don't think my opponent can deal with Registeel. Even if you get to Porygon at like +6, it depends on your Porygon moveset then. If you're running the classic like Tri-Attack Ice Beam, obviously Registeel resists both of those. And you know the upside of Registeel is that it's a very good counter into Porygon. But if you're running Shadow Ball or Thunderbolt, then you can obviously have alternate options to hit the Registeel. But... yeah, I think I'm a fan of Light Screen Amnesia turn 1. The question is whether, like, going into turn 2. I guess my opponent's team is primarily special. Although Reflect is still valuable in case it's mixed Porygon too. Because you may remember a couple, like, months ago we featured this, like, team that won one of the Players' Cup qualifiers, I think. And that one had, like, max special attack and max attack Porygon 2. So honestly, wouldn't be surprised if my opponent's Porygon 2 and this team was like that. Let's see. I don't know, I was also thinking about Thunder Waving. But I like Light Screen to start the game. Maybe Thunder Wave was the play, actually. T-Wave Alcremie. Oh, they do have Phantasm, though. Okay. But they don't even do 50% there, so you know what? I'll take that. It could have been a lot worse. Could have been a lot worse. Alright, Registeel's definitely been doing a lot today. Even though it's like, you know, we haven't had a game where it just like fully goes to the end and Registeel just sweeps. Like, I'm pretty happy about its performance, all things considered, quite frankly. If you're my opponent, you're definitely feeling the pressure right now, right? You probably want to Phantasm Registeel again. Like, I'm almost down to just Protect here and Thunder Wave into Porygon. Because this just gives me full para chances immediately. And then I can Spirit Break, like, Body Press next turn. Yeah, so this is fine, right? Because I guess all we need to do is stall out Dynamax. Then once Dynamax is over, Landorus-T can just come in and then just knock out Porygon easily. Body Press should do a lot of damage as well. So, yeah. Even though they have Max Phantasm, it's still not even that bad for us. Although their Porygon's at +3 special attack, like we're at +3 special defense, and we have Light Screen, so a lot of that damage is already negated. Now the question is whether they read into the Protect next turn. I feel like the thing Registeel does is that you get your opponents to like start getting nervous. Okay, that's a little unfortunate. Yeah, that's actually a pretty big miss, but it's okay. Let's see if they read into the Protect. Nope, they go for Phantasm again. Okay, sweet. 108 to 95, so that did 15 damage total. Okay. Alright, I mean, this is great, right? Like, the whole point was to try to stall out my opponent's Dynamax as quickly as possible, so I'll take this. I'm just going to Body Press Porygon here and go for Thunder Wave onto Porygon. Yeah, I mean, no point in setting up a Reflect right now. I could have Spirit Break last turn, but I don't know. I think Thunder Wave is really valuable, and if we had Connect, we'd be in amazing shape, honestly, because I could just Body Press Spirit Break Porygon this turn. Okay, Thunder Wave connects this time around, though, so that's great. T-Wave is so nice on this Grim. The only downside is you can miss, but we were lucky enough to hit most of them. They faked Tears, but I think they forgot about Clear Body. Yeah, that's one of the upsides of Registeel. Body Press should do a ton here. Actually, not as much as I expected, honestly. Okay, they go for Strike this time around to probably KO Grim. Yeah, that's a smart play. Yep, makes sense. But this is great, right? Like, now I just get a free switch into Lando. And I don't know how my opponent really deals with Registeel at this point. And I think with Landorus out, what I can do is... I'm just nervous about this. Alcremie get Ally Switch? I feel really silly maxing and getting hit by an Ally Switch. I don't think it does. I should really study the move pool of Ally Switch a little bit better. Either way here, I'm down to Body Press into Porygon max and go for an Airstream onto that slot. And let's just double check. Once they're switching into Max Airstream, it's only Regieleki and Body Press KOs that. Yeah. Also, I forgot that we had boosted our special defense, not our defense. That's why Body Press did so little. Yeah, I'm down to just double up on a Porygon here. I don't think... Oh, I actually could have Protect. I don't know. Shadow Ball, Tri-Attack, Ice Beam, Protect. Certainly could be the case. Like, Trick Room on a Porygon like this is a lot less likely. And honestly, I could see it not running Recover either. But the thing is that Alcremie does not pose an offensive threat to us, right? So, like, this is the classic, hey, I'm taking advantage of my opponent's support Pokemon because I know they just can't hit us for damage. And so, yes, while it's scary in terms of support, it's not doing anything other than supporting its teammates. I just don't know the rest of its moveset. I mean, we saw him Fake Tears, Decorate, probably Dazzling Gleam, and I would think Protect, but maybe it drops Protect for something else. Oh. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Alright, well, this is great. This should be a KO. Beautiful. I just have to target Porygon here, right? It's gotten way too many boosts, so I can't ignore it. I guess the scary thing is now my opponent gets a free switch in, and then Alcremie can Decorate whatever's coming in. But I needed to eliminate Porygon ASAP. Yeah, it's a shame because if we had connected on that first Thunder Wave, then we would have been able to Spirit Break the next turn, and then Spirit Break would have put the Porygon in KO range from a Max Airstream, but I can't really complain. So, once again, like, with this team, you're really playing towards the late game Dynamax. I like our position, but I think Alcremie is still really scary, and it depends on who you bring in right now. It's actually Urshifu. That's pretty interesting. That's very interesting. What speed do we hit at +2? 140. It's not enough. Oof. I mean, it's going to be slashed Urshifu, and that's the problem. Oh, Alcremie should be slower than Urshifu, right? Meaning you don't get a decorate off. Unless Urshifu's like slower than Alcremie, which I guess could be the case. Like, I almost want to just body press into Urshifu and Airstream here. The other play I was contemplating was max guarding Landorus to body press Urshifu, but I don't love that play because you could decorate and then surging strikes into the Registeel slot. That would be really bad here. Whereas here it's like at worst, I trade Landorus for Urshifu. And I think that's a decent trade for us. It's not terrible. And if for some reason the Urshifu's slow, like slower than Alcremie, maybe we actually outspeed with Registeel with the speed boosts. They just close combat. We should survive this, right? Registeel is so good. It's the second game in a row it hangs on with just the slightest amount of HP. And now with the speed boost, we outspeed and get the body press off. Beautiful. I honestly wonder if a Dazzling Gleam KOs Registeel at 4 HP. It probably does, right? There's no way we survive. Okay, that's too much faith in Registeel there. Okay, so it's a 2v1 now. Or sorry, 2v2. I still have a turn of Dynamax, which is really critical. And I felt like Urshifu was... Yeah, see, they were on Moltres. Their best answer into Urshifu was honestly their best answer into Landorus was the Urshifu. However, because of Decorate, like, Alcremie could still definitely pull off this win. So this is still very far from over. Let's see. Oh, I forgot we have light screen up. Wait, that's kind of nice. That's very nice, actually. Wait, can you decorate through Protect? I always forget about that. I actually don't remember that mechanic well. Okay, I think I'm gonna Max Quake here. I'm just nervous about Decorate and Nasty Plot coming out on the same turn. Okay, Moltres protects. Yeah, that's... thank goodness. Because I feel like it's too risky to just take a Max Rockfall, like Life or Max Rockfall here, so I think you have to protect. Oh, it's not Focus Sashed. Oh, right, the Urshifu was Sashed, duh. I just, okay, what is the item on Alcremies with this team, then? I don't know. I don't know. Either way, this should be game over now. We have light screen up. Their Moltres isn't boosted. I think I just Swords Dance here. Moltres can still actually pull off a comeback here, so let's be a little bit careful. Well, because we have light screen and a special defense boost, I actually think it's fine to just Ice Beam, because even if I activate Policy, like, you don't KO me with light screen and the special defense boost. Okay, Rock Slide connects, so that's great. Oh, that's so much damage. Oh my goodness, that was almost a one-hit KO. So this might get to +3, but Ice Beam's obviously going to finish it off, so we just need to avoid a Fiery Wrath flinch. Oh, they're not even a Policy. Okay, great. Yeah, that does no damage. Ah, they're Life Orb. That makes sense. Cool. Yeah, the main thing here is my opponent had the opportunity to maybe like protect Alcremie and attack with Moltres. Like getting a Nasty Plot off here could have been really scary, and since like my opponent was already pretty behind, they, I could see them making like a riskier play, like just Nasty Plotting in front of a Life Orb Max Landorus on its last turn. So yeah, but today was a really fun episode. I think you could see the value of Registeel. Like, it was so good in this game, just because I had no other answer against Porygon 2, and despite my opponent having Max Phantasm, like, you'd see how little damage it did into Registeel, right? Which was really, really sweet for us. So Registeel was an absolute monster. We didn't have any games where, it just, like, stayed on the field for 20 minutes and won, but, like, game 1 was essentially won because my opponent diverted all their attention into Registeel, and we were able to effectively stall out their Dynamax. In this game, same thing. Registeel dealt with the Dynamax really, really well in the early game. So don't be afraid to bring out Registeel earlier on, because it is such a fantastic pivot and switch in into your opponent's max options often. Now, the scary thing is that they max something like can hit Registeel for lots of damage, something like a Landorus-T, for example, or Garchomp, for example, but most teams don't have, like, really, really reliable reliable answers to Registeel, so consider using it just defensively to make your opponent struggle a little bit more. And yeah, I mean, the rest of the team was really consistent. We didn't bring Sun at all today, but I think once again, it's a testament to players getting a little bit smarter about beating Sun. So a lot of people have very consistent answers into Sun now, but definitely a very fun game, and you can see how this team was able to get ranked #1. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one. So thank you so much as always for watching Road to Rank. If you enjoyed, please show your support by leaving a like. Thank you once again to all those involved with the team. Check them out, linked in Twitter down in the description below. Don't forget to answer the question of the day, and I'll catch you all next time. All right, peace.